Hello, what is going on, my sweet online friends? How are you doing? I hope you're doing well. Thank you for coming over today. Today, I want to talk about friends, but I don't want to do it in a way that's like, in order to be a good friend, you have to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Because friendships and relationships, I think these are highly personal things, and I think that what works for one person may not work for another. What one person learned as a lesson in friendship may not be what another person needs to know. But I feel like there's a lot that I've personally learned in friendship, and I want to share that to you in a more story time sort of form. So I hope you're down for that. I'm going to talk about a time where I was in a friend group in college and it imploded. It was a disaster. But I learned a lot from that experience. I learned a lot from that time. I just want to hang out with y'all and I'll share with you the mistakes that I made in this particular friend group and the lessons that I learned. I feel so grateful and so honored to have the friends that I have now, and I have a couple close friends that are ride or die. I think I'm gonna have them for the rest of my life, and I really hope that I do. Lord willing, as long as we're living, I hope that these will be my people forever because of a lot of things actually, but that's a different video. For now, let me tell you about the time that it was an utter disaster, but it was a pivotal time in my life. Okay, so where it all began. I was in college, going to just a standard four-year college, and when I joined my university, I wanted two things community-wise. I wanted a dance community and I wanted a Christian community. I found the dance community first. The Christian community, not so much, but I was still attending church. I was still going to Sunday services, but I didn't really have any friends at the church, or at least friends in the sense like, oh, I'll hit them up and we'll go hang out. Like, there was none of that at the church I was attending at the time. So my major community was in this dance team. Now, this dance team was associated with a club, and this club was like a fraternity. It was very secular. There was a lot of drinking, there was a lot of vaping, there was a lot of partying, a lot of raves as well. I didn't go to any of the raves, but I knew that a lot of people like to go to raves within this club. So I would have never probably joined this particular club if it weren't for the dance team. The dance team was for freshmen specifically. You had to be a freshman in order to join it. It was a short-term competitive dance team, so you just drilled and trained really hard for 3 months or so. I think only a quarter, and then you competed against other universities. The type of dance experience that I got from this club was actually phenomenal. They had expert choreographers coming in to teach us, and I had a lot of fun dancing wise. It was also really intense and probably unhealthy because we would practice a lot. As soon as it hit like 7, 8 p.m. we were practicing, and sometimes practices would go till midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. It would go well into the night, and it was really intensive. But if you can imagine how crazy the dance practices were in terms of time and energy, I was also spending all that crazy time and energy with a lot of other people who were in it together. So it really bonded us. And if you're a part of something where there's a common mission and a common goal and there's suffering involved, you get close with those people that you're suffering with, you're invested with. And so I got really close with a group of people in this dance team. They were just my people. I would not only see them at dance practice, I would see them outside of dance practice. If I wasn't in a class, then I was probably with these people. Either they were at my dorm on campus or we would be hanging out together. These people were my whole life, essentially. During the time of being on the dance team with them, things were pretty good. It felt really fun to have a friend group. I don't know if I've ever had a friend group that close. And like I said, it was really forged through the trial of this competitive dance season. However, once the season finished, we competed, we got 4th place, kind of anticlimactic, but after that was done, what did we have to hold us together? Really, we were really random people that got grouped together because of dance. Yeah, we took dance classes together. We even tried to start our own club together, but there wasn't really anything holding us together. There wasn't really anything we had common values in. That's when it all started going downhill. And the first thing that I want to tell you that I made a mistake in is that naturally, in a lot of friend groups, especially younger age friend groups, I think, people tend to take roles. There's a mom of the friend group, there's the wild one, there's the quiet one. There's certain tropes when it comes to a friend group of, oh, there's the funny one, for example. And I was the mom of the friend group. I took that role way too far, I must say. I remember a time where one person in the friend group came up to me and was like, this girl hurt my feelings and she did this XYZ. And I told that girl, I was like, don't worry, I'll talk to her, like a mediator. And so I went and talked to this friend, and I was like, this friend was upset with this friend. So I went and talked to this friend, and I was like, you can't be doing that. I literally looked her in the eyeballs and was like, hey, can I talk to you for a second? I brought her into my room. I was like, so-and-so told me that you did this, and you can't be doing that. Oh, I could not believe myself, the audacity. Oh, I cringe looking back at it. But this friend was severely offended. She was like, not even my own mom talks to me this way. And honestly, she was right. I had no right. I had no place to talk to her that way. And thankfully, with this particular friend, we reconciled later. We apologized to each other later, and we're on good terms. I don't talk to her at all, but all the love for her. But yeah, I really messed up in that specific occasion because I'm a fellow friend. I should not be talking to somebody like I'm the boss of them or as if they're a young child. It's condescending, and I totally messed up in that. So I learned a valuable lesson in this friend group, but especially in that particular instance, that I am nobody's mother. Currently, I'm not. I don't have any kids. So my friends, my spouse, my husband, they're not my kids. So mothering belongs to moms, not to relationships that are supposed to be friends, where you're supposed to be equals. And so that was a tough lesson to learn. Now, I still have maternal instincts. I still love to care for my friends. I'm still protective of my friends, but I don't tell them what to do. I don't boss them around. I don't say, you should do blank, blank, blank. I listen to them, and if they want my opinion and if they want my suggestion, then I'll offer it to them with gentleness and with explaining, this is what I think, and I could be wrong, but this is my best intention for you. But you're an adult. You can make your own decisions on this, and letting them make decisions that you agree with without giving them like shame or like I'm going to treat you differently because you did something that I don't approve of. That's manipulative, and I no longer do that. So thank God for changing me. Okay, that was the first thing. Let me continue with the story of how things started to break apart. So I don't really want to talk about their mistakes because I just don't want to talk bad about them at all. Essentially what happened is I started becoming ostracized from the group. One person in particular had an issue with me, and the rest of the group kind of sided with that person. And so, yeah, I was confronted. Initially, it was a one-on-one confrontation, but then it just kept going. And I'm not exactly sure why, but the whole group turned on me, essentially, and I was invited to group interventions. Literally, it would be 5 of them sitting in chairs facing me, and oh, it was just so terrible. It was so terrible to be in that position, and I started shutting down. So I just started distancing myself from them. I didn't even feel safe, really, to come home to my own dorm because there were members in the group that were my roommates. So it was a very uncomfortable position to be in. But what I learned about conflict and confrontation from this group and from this experience is that conflict is dangerous. It's risky because I don't think you're ever the same after a serious confrontation. I don't think your friendship is ever really the same after you have a confrontation with a friend over a serious matter. Either you become more unified. Either your relationship and your bond grows closer and stronger, or there's hurt feelings. There's trauma, there's distrust. And so I think it only goes one of those two ways. I don't think it just stays the same and keeps cruising. So that's one thing I learned about conflict. Another thing I learned is like I wouldn't recommend group confrontations in most cases. It really just feels like the person's getting attacked. I think it's hard for it not to come off that way to the person that's getting confronted if there's like a whole group of people that have ganged up against them. So it's not the best, in my opinion. Scripture does talk about how we are to confront somebody else within the church that is sinning, that you consider to be a brother. And the first step is first a one-on-one confrontation, and then bring 1 to 2 more, and then get the elders or the church leaders involved. But that's in a very specific case of in-house dealings with conflict in the church. So that's the context for it, and I don't want to misuse it in a way that it's not intended to apply to. But one-on-one is probably the best, is what I think after that experience. I think also confrontation and conflict reveals a lot about the parties involved and the security of the relationship. It's different every time with every group of people or couple of people because everybody has a different attachment style. Some people are secure, but the majority of people are not. The majority of people have maybe avoidant or anxious avoidant tendencies. And so that deeply plays into how you handle confrontation and conflict. And if confrontation does not go well, it may make you feel unsafe in the relationship. The last point that I want to make is that bad company corrupts good morals in ways that you may not expect. So for me, like I said, this club was very into drinking, partying, drugs, that sort of thing. And I knew coming in that I wasn't going to partake in that. I tend to have strong convictions and I stand on them. So I knew I'm not going to drink if I go to a party. I'm not going to vape. I'm not going to go to a rave. So these were things that I was prepared to not do and prepared to stand my ground on. But there were other areas morally that I was compromising in that I wasn't prepared to fight for. I wasn't prepared to protect. So for example, there was one person in the group who was just mean and arrogant, and I can be mean and arrogant on my own. I don't need somebody else to influence me that way, but being around somebody else who was mean and arrogant, it had an influence on me, and I wasn't on guard for it. And so there's one instance I can remember that I felt so guilty of once I left this friend group, but this person was texting another person on a dating app, and this person told me, I'm not that into them, I don't really want to see them, but I don't know what to tell them. And so I was like, I'll tell them. And so I texted the person that they were talking to, and the person that they were talking to, let's call him Ed texted my friend and was like, oh, do you want to hang out? And I responded on behalf of my friend, no. And then the person responded back, why? And then I responded, because you're ugly and you're stupid. I can't believe I did that. I feel so bad to Ed. Oh, I'm so sorry. And I was just motivated by a mean spirit. I don't know. I can be a little saucy, okay? I can. I know this about myself, and sometimes it isn't used for evil. Sometimes it's just personality. But in this case, it was used for evil, and I feel so bad about it. And I did that, but it wasn't just that occasion. That's the most memorable one I could think of when I was extremely rude to another human being. But generally, my spirit was meaner. I was just more easily angered, more easily agitated, and I was slandering people left and right because that was the culture of our group. It was kind of talking behind each other's backs and gossiping, and I gave into that. I wasn't on guard for it. I didn't think it was that big of a deal, but I was becoming this type of person that now looking back, I'm like, like character-wise, that wasn't That wasn't good. And so bad company or bad, who you choose to be around and the company that they are, their character, their morals, you may have a certain moral standard that's different from them or certain convictions that they might not have, but there are other things that you may not be protecting as actively that you will subtly and slowly start to change because they are influencing you, and that's just the kind of culture of the people closest in your life. So be on guard for that. Be careful with who you surround yourself with because they will influence you, whether you see it coming or it's more on the down low. But in that case, it was more on the down low for me. So lessons learned. I made mistakes. I wronged people in this group, as you can see clearly. And the Lord taught me a lot through it, and I'm thankful in a way that that friend group exploded, because if I were still friends with them to this day, I'd probably be a very different person. But now the friends, the closest inner circle that I have are women of God. They have the sweetest, kindest hearts. They are people that I respect, people that I would love to be like. And so they're people that truly help me be healthier, better, kinder, more loving as a person. And I treasure them so, so much. Yeah, just thank God. Thank God for the friends that he has now put in my life. The husband he put into my life, who is my best friend, and I'm so grateful. And there's so much more I could talk about friendship, so this is definitely part 1. I don't know how many more parts there will be, but if you like this story time kind of format, please let me know. Let me know your experiences with friends, and yeah, I appreciate you and thank you for coming over, and I hope to see you again next week. Take care. Love you guys. Bye.
I need a safe place I can run and hide, where somebody says just come inside, be yourself, take a breath. Everybody needs a little